There is a language on Earth where no speaker has ever said goodbye, not because they were rude, but because in their worldview, separation was never permanent. Parting always meant return. Within 50 years, that language became silent. The Piraha people of the Amazon basin inhabited the western banks of the mighty river for millennia. Their language, also called Piraha, contained no words for precise numbers, no color terms, and no abstract future tense. Every word carried meaning rooted in immediate experience, what they could see, touch, and know directly. The grammar reflected their philosophy. Existence was present, tangible, and cyclical. Linguists discovered something extraordinary. The Piraha had no word for goodbye, not because the concept was foreign, but because it was philosophically unnecessary. In their language, parting was temporary. The verb structure itself assumed reunion. You did not leave someone. You simply paused your interaction until the next return. Farewells required no ceremony, no linguistic marker, because every ending carried the certainty of beginning again. In the 1980s, contact with the outside world accelerated. Missionaries arrived with Portuguese and Spanish. Government officials mandated education in national languages. Young Pirahan children began school in a tongue that possessed words their parents' language did not. Abstract numbers, future tense, farewells. The first generation to speak two languages began to think in two frameworks. Some concepts became permanent in their speech. Goodbye was one of them. Within 2 generations, fluent speakers of pure Piraha dwindled to fewer than 300. The youngest native speakers no longer knew all the original words. They mixed languages without realizing they were translating concepts that had no pure origin in their own tongue. When an elder passed, entire systems of meaning dissolved. No recording could capture the subtle interdependence of grammar and worldview. The way structure itself carried philosophy. The way the absence of a word for goodbye meant the presence of a belief in eternal connection. In universities across Brazil and the United States, researchers maintained audio archives of Piraha speakers from the 1960s and 1970s. These tapes became the most complete record of the language as it existed in its entirety. Students listened to voices of people long dead, trying to reconstruct grammar from static and silence. The recordings preserved sound but not understanding. Not the context in which a word lived, not the gesture that completed its meaning, not the worldview that made it necessary. A language without goodbye was now a language that could never truly greet anyone again. Today, there are perhaps 100 speakers of Piraha with any fluency. Most are over 60 years old. The language exists in a state of profound incompleteness. Younger speakers borrow words from Portuguese, simplify grammar, lose the subtle vocal tones that distinguished meaning. Linguists debate whether Piraha still exists, or if what remains is a hybrid, a shadow. Yet in that shadow lives the memory of a people who once believed that nothing ever truly ended, that every parting was only a pause in an eternal return. When a language dies, more than words disappear. An entire way of organizing reality, of understanding time and connection and meaning, evaporates. The Piraha once lived in a world where separation was metaphysically impossible, where language itself guaranteed reunion. They needed no word for goodbye, because goodbye was a concept their minds could not quite hold. Now the young Piraha say goodbye every day. They have learned to believe in endings, and something their ancestors understood, something about the nature of return, of eternal connection, of presence that transcends physical distance, has been forgotten in a single generation. Somewhere in an archive, a tape still spins. An elder's voice speaks in a language that no longer has living speakers who understand its full complexity. The words they speak carry beliefs about connection and permanence, concepts that resist translation. Linguists listen and transcribe, but transcription is a tomb. It preserves the body, but not the spirit. The Piraha did not have a word for goodbye, because in their universe, goodbye was unnecessary. In ours, we have many words for goodbye, and perhaps what we have lost is not the word itself, but the belief that made it impossible to imagine needing one. If there's one thing language extinction teaches us, it's that worlds die in silence. Subscribe to explore the hidden architecture of human meaning, how languages encode the beliefs we don't even know we hold.